Speaking to you from beautiful Philadelphia, I want to focus today on a certain kind of storytelling. If you want to be a fiction writer, you have a lot to gain from studying human instinct. To become aware of how human instinct plays a part in fiction, ask yourself, keep a story in mind and ask yourself, what is the draw of that story? What is its driving force? What is it about that story that is pulling the viewer through it? So if you're reading a great story and it happens to be one that is not primarily built around the building suspense towards a climax, and yet it's still a story that has pulled you into it, has gotten your attention and keeps it, investigate what human instinct is that story working with. I'm going to bring up one that may seem dry and unexciting at times, but stay with me on this one and you can see how it can become a very exciting part of your fiction. I can make this instinct very clear through the example of the game SimCity. Now, if you have ever played a game like SimCity, this is basically, the name of the game is to develop a city, and it's about getting the resources needed. And if you want to build that new bridge, you're going to A, need power, B, need the material, C, need to organize the working force, D, get the permits, and it's basically a game about development. Now, what is the driving force? What is keeping the game players interested? It isn't a battle. It isn't to overcome the enemy or similar opposition, conflict-based scenarios. It's about developing, evolving, building something. Now, there's a great majority of fiction out there about conflict. What's a story if you don't have a good guy and a bad guy battling it out? But there's a completely different kind of story. In SimCity, the objective is to develop a city, and what happens is that it makes the steps along the way so easy to achieve. You still need to go through the work of putting these steps together, but then you get the rewards. You get to see how it all works when it's all put together, and you get that satisfaction of having gone from having nothing to having something that is a great benefit. The story Ender's Game. This is a story not so much about good guy fighting bad guy as it is about the development, the evolution, the putting things together, the building of Ender as a powerful fighter. In one of the great number of Rocky movies, you have the part where Rocky loses, so he goes through training. So it's a part of the story where it's about his development, his putting the resources together, his putting in the effort of building his state to one where he is a good fighter again. Appreciate that in stories, when something is being developed, when the story depicts the steps along the way, the necessary things that have to get done, it is triggering the same instinct that a video game like SimCity is triggering. Why do humans have this instinct? Well, I can imagine, so humans have been farming for thousands of years, and look at what it takes. You need to locate the water source, you need to build the fences, you need to build the barn, you need to find a dry place to keep the hay. Now this is all drudgery. Where's the satisfaction? The satisfaction is when you put the steps together, eventually you get a really fine working machine, and that is a great satisfaction. This sort of effort and reward can be one of the greatest satisfactions a human can feel. This kind of storytelling works so well that it can stand on its own, and sometimes it does. Sometimes the whole point of the novel, movie, short story is about the putting together the resources, putting the pieces together, drawing the blueprint, putting the parts together, writing in the program, gathering together the resource material, whatever steps it takes to go from point A to point B, to go from having nothing to having that great machine, to building that super fortress, that super ship, to putting the fleet together. Look at the movie Contact. Okay, they did put in good guy, bad guy just to add some excitement, but a majority of that story is about the needed steps of scientific research to get to that reward, and the reward is that great discovery. Now in real life, you have thousands of hardworking scientists who never know if they'll find the Higgs boson, or never know if they'll make contact with aliens, but they're willing to sacrifice their whole career, go through all the needed steps, put together all the needed resources in order to reach that goal, when the truth is that so many of them will end up possibly just helping future careers of yet unborn scientists and never see that final goal themselves. Imagine a scenario where you have some form of weakling in a society who's beaten or somehow kicked out of that, whatever conflict that individual cannot face at that point, goes off on their own. Essentially, it's a conflict-free space where they go through the changes, they go through the training, they go through the education, they go through the building of weapons or whatever, so that when they have changed, they have become that new individual that can then go back and fight the bad guy. But it's helpful to appreciate a story, or for the sake of understanding this instinct, a video game where it isn't the point to develop something to a point where you can fight the bad guy, but just for the sake of achieving that level of development. In the game SimCity, it never gets to a point where that city is used to conquer an enemy. The whole point of the game is just to get the satisfaction of having developed something, of having built it very well. Now, as a sloppy person in need of appreciating where other people are coming from, when I see someone who's very neat and their rooms and apartments and desks are all very organized and clean, I think of this instinct. It must be very satisfying to keep the machinery of their daily environment running very well. See, I think a whole story could be built around the development of a farm, and there have been novels that essentially that is the driving force of that story, is about the putting together of a well-functioning whatever it is. The same instinct is at work when you have a story where the spy is being outfitted with their new spy toys. So stories remain liked for long periods of time when they trigger human instincts, and it's a great help to appreciate all the human instincts at play and all the different reasons why stories are popular. If you look at the story Anne of Green Gables, any conflict between the good and the bad guy totally takes a back seat. This is all about the development and evolution of an individual, and that's the driving force. That is the carrot at the end of the stick. That is what there may be suspense in one story as a driving force. Well, in a story like Anne of Green Gables, it's about the gradual satisfaction of the gradual evolving of a person. So when you have a story like The Karate Kid, so this is where it's so much about that person going into training, and the whole enjoyment of that story is about what happens in a training scenario. What about a scenario like a person finds a blueprint from like an alien society, and it's for a machine, and they don't know what the machine does, and the whole story is about what it takes to put that machine together, and what is going to happen once it is put together. Will it work? And what will it do for the people who built the machine? What new powers will they have? What new advantages in their lives will they have? When this instinct is working in our real lives, wonderful things happen. If someone goes through the great effort of years of quality education, it's like they gain superpowers. They gain these abilities. They may be invisible, but they still are completely effective, have a real life effect on what that individual can enjoy, can achieve, the freedom they have, the enhanced experience of life that they have, the things that they are able to see. You know, their powers of perception increase. So this kind of instinct plays an extremely important part in our real lives, and it also is a reason that we enjoy our fiction so much. So as an exercise, write a story. Write 3 short stories where it is not about good guy, bad guy. There's no climax except when the house, by the end of the story, is about the house has been built. The ship has been built and it sails for the first time. They take the wine bottle and crack it on the hull of the ship and let it drift into the waters. About what happens when they build that strange machine and they turn it on for the first time. The whole story is about what I've described: putting together the needed resources, getting the needed team together, finding the right location, all the needed steps, and enjoy each step along the way. Write a story that is based on triggering the instinct to develop, to maintain, to put together. You get the picture. Speak to me. Speak to other people that watch this video. What other video games wake up this instinct in the players? What stories, what movies wake up this instinct in the viewers? Please leave a comment. If you know one, please put it down in a comment. Thank you for watching. If you like my videos and want to get me back, please hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, tell a friend. You could greatly help by tweeting, stumble upon the different ways of making YouTube videos. Getting the link out there would greatly help. Please take the time to go look at the mammoth story I'm working on called Terrible Immunity. It is at solomation.com, about the strange adventure of Lily in a bizarre world. Thanks again for watching. I hope your writing goes great, and have a good day.